New research from Parks Associates shows for the first time online retailers dominate as the top channel for the most widely adopted smart home devices. Overall, more than 1/3 of U.S. broadband households own at least one smart home device. Our new research, Smart Home Consumer Purchases and Preferences, includes an analysis of COVID-19's impact on the smart home market and provides insight into identifiable purchasing behaviors, including product and feature preferences among consumers. According to this quarterly survey work of 10,000 broadband households, the pandemic was finally the tipping point for online retailers, which had been trending towards the top channel position for years. Security dealers are an important secondary channel for smart safety and security devices, while HVAC contractors are an important channel for smart thermostats. Repeat buyers are still the top smart home customers, but at some point, this group will reach saturation. The mainstream volume portion of the market is still playing wait and see because they haven't been sufficiently convinced of the smart home value proposition. For more information on this new research, please contact our team today.
Welcome back to our Connections series, where all year we are celebrating Parks Associates' 35th year in business and the 25th anniversary of Connections, the premier connected home conference. I'm Jennifer Kent, Vice President of Research at Parks Associates, and I'm excited to be kicking off 2 days of conversations about some of the most important topics impacting the smart home market. This first session focuses on the ways users experience the smart home and how platforms and standards are evolving to elevate that experience. We appreciate Johnson Controls' sponsorship of this session today. And of course, thank you to all of our Connections sponsors. We couldn't host these events without your support in this unique year that is certainly true more than ever. So thank you to Alarm.com, Calix, Cox Communities, SmartRent, Xfinity Home, Bitdefender, Johnson Controls, Notion, Tuya, Ayla Networks, Plume, and AirTies. We really appreciate your support of this event. We also want to recognize our supporters who we work with in different ways to help educate and network with the industry. We appreciate the support from CEDIA, Connected Design, the Connectivity Standards Alliance, DealerScope, SCTE, the Monitoring Association, the Z-Wave Alliance, Zonda, Broadband Communities Magazine, Consortium for Energy Efficiency, ESA, and Home Grid Forum. If you have joined us for prior Connections sessions this year, welcome back. If this is your first session, welcome. And as an attendee, you have access to all of the sessions we've conducted this year through the SWAT card platform. And over the next 2 days, in addition to platforms, we'll be talking about privacy and security in the smart home. We'll be taking a special look at the state of the smart home market in Europe and discussing initiatives and partnerships with insurers. And we are very excited to share with you that 2022 will include both virtual and in-person events. Our first in-person event is Connections Summit at CES, a full day event on the connected home landscape that we've put on with the Consumer Electronics Show for many years, and we hope to see you there. Then we will have Connections virtual sessions throughout the year and our flagship in-person event in May. We have loved connecting with all of you this year virtually, but we are eager to see industry relationships deepen with the return of our in-person events next year. So over the next 2 hours, again, we're going to be talking about smart home bridging platforms and changing the experience. I'm going to be kicking off with some insight and research from Parks Associates. Then I'm very excited to be welcoming Jeremy McLerran, who's the Global Director of Marketing from Johnson Controls, to have a conversation about his visionary insight into the market. We'll also be inviting our President, Elizabeth Parks, to have a conversation with David Friedman, who's the chairman of Ayla Networks, about changing the experience. And then we'll have a full interactive panel discussion with speakers from Brilliant, Resideo, Samsung, Comcast, and Corvo to really flesh out this topic. Finally, when we close the session, we will open up a Zoom networking room to take this conversation out into the virtual hallway. So please join us there. Our team will be putting in a Zoom link into the chat so that you can easily jump over to the networking discussion. Also, throughout the day, you'll see that there is a polling tab and a chat and Q&A tab. So we do encourage you to fill out those polling questions so we can understand what you're thinking about these topics. And you can ask questions of our speakers in that Q&A or chat tab. With that, let's dive into today's topic about how consumers experience the smart home and the role of platforms and standards that help products to work together in achieving that experience. Now, Parks Associates has been studying for decades the idea of a home network and connected devices and sensors connecting across that network in ways that are thoughtful and integrated and, importantly, useful. The latest iteration of the smart home idea is now more than 10 years old. If we think back to Ecobee's thermostat launching way back in 2008. And in that time, the market has expanded considerably, right? With manufacturers of product types throughout the home introducing connected versions of their products and attempting to find the right combination of value to the consumer and a business model that's sustainable. As of Q2 2021, 36% of all broadband households have at least one smart home device and are slowly adding more and more devices. Those with at least one smart home device in the home own, on average, 8 smart home devices. Of course, smart home devices are not the only connected devices in the home. If you look across the entire home landscape, and consider all of the devices connected to your home network, there's PCs, mobile, smart speakers, streaming media players, smart TVs, and increasingly, over the last 2 years, we've seen a major increase in connected health devices in the home as well. On average, US broadband households count 14 connected devices in the home. Now, there's long been a divergent buyer journey and user experience between those who acquire standalone point devices and cobble them together versus a curated system of devices that are designed to work together. Most smart home devices are acquired from retail, whether in person or online, one at a time, and brought into an increasingly chaotic assortment of smart home devices. A curated system, of course, has components that are designed to work together, perhaps has routines or automations that are ready to go, but there's also often limited choice of products and models, and of course, pricing and ongoing fees may not align with consumers' needs or budgets. Regardless, we know that far too many consumers find the smart home experience too difficult. 36% of consumers who set up smart home devices on their own experience difficulty. And even beyond the setup process, the number of technical problems owners experience with their devices also continues to grow. 38% of smart home product owners experienced 2 or more technical problems in the past year with a smart home product, up from just 11% 2 years ago. Now, this may reflect growth of the market in some places beyond innovators and early adopters who tend to be more tech savvy, but it's certainly not the experience any solution providers want for their customers, regardless of their tech affinity. And the number one problem experienced is loss of wireless connectivity generally. And then additionally, 44% of those experiencing a technical problem report they had difficulty getting the device to interact with other devices in the home. So the basic value proposition of a home with technology that works together is simply not being met in too many cases. We know that consumers do care about this, not just reactively when they have a problem, but also as a key consideration at purchase. They do look for products that work well with others, that play well, right? Whether that be working with their smart home, with a smart speaker, with a security system they have in their home, with other smart products that they have in their home, or even, with their smartwatch. We asked consumers who purchased a smart home product in the past 12 months about various considerations they took into account when selecting the choice of brand and model that they selected, and the ways in which smart home devices work with other devices and key control points in the home is a factor. For instance, 32% of smart plug buyers rated working with smart speakers as a top purchase consideration. 1 in 4 network camera buyers said the product's ability to work with their security system was a top purchase consideration. And smart door lock owners were particularly concerned that their lock work with other smart products that they already own in the home. Now, the industry has been working very hard for a very long time to solve this problem. What is the best approach to a smooth, integrated experience for the end user that also allows for the variety of connectivity needs that serve all use cases and product designs? There's a real need for a variety of communication methods that can take into consideration range, battery life, data security, all sorts of specific product design issues. Not all standards work for every product or use case, and not every manufacturer can support the cost of multiple radios, multiple chipsets in their products. So hubs, voice assistants, works with programs, all of these have attempted to solve the most fundamental of all issues in the smart home, which is making things work, right? Now, most recently, the Matter connectivity standard has put forth an IP-based approach with support from leading industry players, including Apple and Amazon and Google. And products are supporting Matter are expected to hit the market in 2022. So we are certainly watching that initiative, and we'll hear more from our industry speakers about what they think about Matter and how they're participating in that initiative. Now, if Matter or other approaches succeed in solving the interoperability part of the equation, meaning devices will be able to communicate in some even limited way, regardless of brand or platform or system, then the next most important focus of the industry becomes who or what is the consumer's primary method for interfacing with their home. Consumers currently interact with their smart home products in a variety of ways, through an app that controls a single product on their smartphone, right? Through an app that controls multiple products, through their voice using a smart speaker, through their voice using the voice assistant on their phone, through a home security app, and of course by actually physically touching controls on the device or on a panel. However, we do see strong demand for unified control. In our most recent smart home survey in Q2 of this year, 86% of smart home device owners say they want a unified control of all of their connected home products through a single app. And there are plenty of companies vying for this spot. Security system providers, internet service providers, retail energy providers, manufacturers of smart home products, and of course, the tech giants. Park Associates research finds that it is still anyone's game to be the main interfacing brand with the consumer. Currently, when we ask the smart home product owners what their primary control method is for their smart home products, the tech giants lead the pack. But residential security providers and internet service providers also have a prominent position of this control point in the home. And when we ask consumers who they would most prefer to be their unified smart home app provider, it's actually even more evenly distributed. No one provider type gains preference among even a quarter of smart home device owners. Wide open field. And Providing a quality control experience is not easy. Not all consumers desire the same experience to start. So, in fact, our research has found that US consumers are fairly evenly split into two large buckets. About half say that they want to feel like an expert. They want to be able to customize their experience, really control how their smart home works for them. The other half say they want to set it and forget it. Do not make being a smart home owner feel like a job, right? Automate, make it work. They didn't get into smart home to make their life even more difficult. Another key element is trust. Who do consumers trust to control their home? Who do they trust with all of the potentially sensitive data that passes through their smart products? Who do they trust to secure their video streams that may face external, may face internal, right? Here, our data indicates that security providers and ISPs have a lead in the game, but certainly earning and keeping consumer trust is fundamental in this market for all players. So throughout this session today, our industry experts will be sharing their vision of the smart home. We'll be discussing interoperability and new standards approaches, the constant need for differentiation, and what it means to deliver an awesome control experience to consumers. Will interoperability initiatives expand beyond the core smart home and security segment to other areas of the connected home, including health, including entertainment, auto, and really bringing smart appliances into the fold? We'll be hearing our industry experts' opinions, but of course we want to hear from you too. So please take a minute to answer the polling questions and remember to submit questions for our speakers as we go. And with that, I'm very excited to move into our Visionary Insight session with Jeremy McLerran with Johnson Controls.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jeremy. How are you? Thank you for being with us today.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks very much. What a fantastic presentation. The data you shared is awesome. And I hope everyone was listening closely because there's a lot of really great stuff in there.
Well, I really appreciate that. Thank you very much for the feedback. Jeremy, why don't we start off by telling our audience today a little bit more about yourself and about Johnson Controls, if you will.
Sure. I have been in this industry for many years now. I started back as actually started door to door, selling security systems door to door. And after a mediocre, successful summer, I went back to corporate and said, "Hey, I'm not sure door to door is really where I'm going to be successful." I had a long history of training experience, and I said, "Could I help maybe train some of the people on what might be more effective and help improve your training program?" Because I felt like it wasn't that fantastic at the time. We made some great improvements in that particular organization, and through that we realized that we needed a great marketing team, and I was asked to run marketing for this SDM 10 company. We had about 350,000 customers, and as we put our attention back on those customers, we saw some tremendous improvements in usage, in customer satisfaction, in our NPS scores, and just in referrals and overall, product adoption. It was through that relationship that I was able to get introduced to a small Silicon Valley-based company called Qualsys, and they approached me and asked if I would run marketing for them as they launched their first product back in 2013. And I did so, assisting them to launch the IQ panel and that product line. And ran marketing for Qualsys for 10 years or so till we were acquired by Johnson Controls. Johnson Controls, as you probably know, is one of the largest companies in the world and focuses really on creating smart, sustainable buildings. And the Qualsys acquisition was key in part of that, to bring some of the security and smart home technologies into it. And many of the things that you shared, the data information you shared, is exactly the kind of things we're working to achieve and working very hard. We believe that there should be devices everywhere. And whether that's a smart HVAC system on the top of a building or a small door sensor that allows you to be able to be, aware of what's happening in your home, those little devices placed all throughout the home really make a very successful installation, a very successful experiences. And of course, the more devices you have, the more you can do. So we're developing new devices. We're partnering with other devices that we don't make ourselves, and really bringing in our partners and the things we make ourselves into a single solution that can really be leveraged no matter what size the building. So it's a very exciting time to be in this industry.
Well, we're so pleased that you're here and to get the JCI opinion, because really, you know, Johnson Controls does, you mentioned it's an enormous international company, right? You have a footprint in commercial and residential. You have a footprint in security and energy and air quality, right? Really have a very broad perspective in what is possible in smart homes. So you shared a little bit. Is there anything more that you'd like to say about what really Johnson Controls' vision is for the smart home?
Well, I think a big part of it is ecosystems. You know, I think right now there's so many disparate ecosystems, and you mentioned it in your data that you were sharing. You know, there's a lot of different ways, and people almost are looking for a winner. They're looking for, like, well, is this platform going to be the one that everyone's going to use? And, you know, am I going to do that and do this? And I think we believe, you know, there's a phrase that we use a lot, and we've never met a protocol we didn't like. You know, whether it's Z-Wave or Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or security RF or, you know, legacy radio frequencies, or, you know, all of them. If we can find a way to bring all those items together in one platform, in one user experience, then rather than try and wait for a winner and wait for this other one that might be getting some success to fail and go away, instead we bring them all together under one roof. And that's one thing that we've really been working for is bringing all these ecosystems together. I think our flagship platform has 6 different wireless protocols in it, all working together with, you know, whether it's Z-Wave or it's a legacy security device, or it's a new PowerG encrypted wireless device, or it's a Wi-Fi device or a Bluetooth device. All these things are being brought together into a single experience, and hopefully an intuitive and pleasant experience for the user to be able to have something that they really truly will not only use, but will share with others as well. And I think that's where we're going to see that adoption increase, is when people love what they have, they're going to tell their friends.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, you give such a great perspective from what a lot of device manufacturers are probably feeling on, you know, how do you incorporate all of these different standards and technologies and be wherever the consumer is right now, right? Because you want to be able to support a unified experience, but that means a lot of different things. And of course, matters coming down the pipe, but there's a little bit of a wait and see, and well, we'll support that too, maybe, and see how it goes. Do you have any other thoughts on that or on?
Well,
that?
it's interesting when you were mentioning the wait and see comment, and I do believe that there's a lot of people that are saying I'm going to wait and see, but I think that they would be surprised and probably very eager to get what we have today. And I say we as an industry, not just simply as Johnson Controls, but we as an industry. I think they'd be more likely to get what we have today if we were better at showing it to them. And I think one thing that we need to do is not just, I mean, the technology is almost there. We've got really great technology, from, you know, smart long-range encrypted security wireless, you know, smart CO detectors and you know, carbon monoxide detectors and smoke detectors, you know, flood detectors that tell you when water's detected and then automatically turn off, you know, the water with a smart water valve, smart lighting, solar integration, you know, automatic garage door openers. There's so many different things. The challenge I think we have as an industry is we're not necessarily terribly good at showing it off. You know, we might have a few executives here and there. Each of the companies that are listening today, each of the individuals that are listening today might have some experience with some of this stuff. But have we done a good job as an industry in showing off what we can do and making the smart home a reality for people? I know in my house, when I leave, my phone knows I've gone. I get a little alert via my alarm.com mobile app that says, hey, you left. You've left the geofence. Would you like to arm away? And with one button, I press arm away. My doors lock. My garage door closes. My thermostat adjusts to an energy saving mode. My lights turn off. My security system arms. My cameras are ready to watch for things. My flood detectors and everything else are ready to watch for things. It's a really great experience with a single button. And when I come home, the Bluetooth radio in my phone automatically connects to my panel, unlocking my front door for me. We can literally walk inside the house. The thermostat turns back on. The lights are turning on. Music's playing. It's a really great experience. And part of that requires that we all do a better job at showing that off, that we tell our customers about it. And therein, I think, lies the biggest challenge. How do we show off everything that we can do without overwhelming the customer and making them feel like, boy, this is way too expensive. I can't adopt all of this. And my personal solution is do it over time. It's very rare when you get that customer who says, I want to take everything you got. Give me it all. Give it all to me. Make it up. I don't care what it costs. Give it all to me. Most people are on a budget. Most people are saying, well, I can afford a little bit here, a little bit there. And they're getting marketed to. They're seeing ads for Christmas time right now, looking at all the different things that they could buy and get this new smart home device to add. It makes a great Christmas gift. What if we as an industry are doing a better job at helping them understand all the different cool things we can do, making those the Christmas gifts that you can provide to people, and helping them over time build an amazing smart home solution. When they say, I can't afford lights right now, well, don't give up on them. Talk to them in 6 months. Hey, are you ready for that smart light switch now? Are you ready for that smart light bulb now, or that smart device? Are you ready for that smart garage opener? You never know when that customer is ready to buy that next thing. And so we have to be in constant contact with our customers, helping them understand all the different things they can do, giving them incentives to buy, helping them see how they all work together, and most importantly, making sure that it all fits together in their mobile app, on the touchscreen in their home, that they have this single, unified, amazing user experience that they not only love to use, but want to share with their friends and show off.
Yeah, I think everything that you're talking about really does align with the reality of the market right now. I mean, by far, the number one way that consumers do get a smart home device is as a point solution, purchased at retail, whether in person or online, right? And then they're fitting it into whatever else that they have in the home. We also find that the smart home value proposition or what's possible in the smart home is very experiential. So you can have lovely commercials or try and reach them, of course, with marketing, which is a must. But really, consumers have to see their friend use it, or visit their neighbor, and it kind of opens up their eyes. And once they have that one device, you start to see the possibilities for the other types of devices in your home. So love your perspective there. Now, how do you measure what sort of user experience people are having once they are kind of starting to get into smart home? So we do still see technical issues, problems with setup, right? We are looking a little closer next year, perhaps at, how many people are putting these things in boxes? It didn't work. They didn't give it another shot, right? Mm-hmm. Or they didn't even return it. It's just, not for me. And now they're back out of the market. So how do you know what the user experience is on the other side?
Well, you shared data that 85% are looking for that kind of unified method. And while that might be true, I also believe that unified method for me might be different than the unified method that you are looking for. And so I think, again, from an interoperability standpoint, we as an industry need to make sure that all of our devices can all work together. Because like you said, some people are buying that little device and they say, oh, cool, I got this new cool device. I want it to work with my system. And they bring it home, and then they don't realize that company that makes that device didn't make it to work with all the others, because they're hoping that you're going to buy the rest of their devices, not a bunch of other ones. So there is a certain level of corporate selfishness we need to be willing to give up, that we have to say, hey, look, in order to win, we have to be able to embrace all these different technologies, and we have to be able to provide all these different user experiences. When we measure success, it should be measured in usage. If our customers are using the products we're selling, then that's a huge win. How do we get them to use it more? How do we get them to buy more and to continue to use more? Because we know that when they do, they'll share it with their friends. And I believe that part of it is that ongoing communication, but another part of it is giving them more than one method to use it. Mm-hmm. There's some people who say, well, one day voice control is going to be everything. I don't believe that's true. I think there might be some people who say, I only want to use voice control, but there will be just as many people who will say, I only want to use the mobile app, or I want to use the watch app, or I want to use the touchscreen in my home, or touchscreens all throughout my bedroom, or I want everything to be automatic and I don't want to touch anything or do anything at all. And there's going to be plenty of people who are going to say, yeah, you know what? When I'm in the living room, I want to use the touchscreen because it's right there. But when I'm in the hallway, I don't want to walk to the living room. I want to use my phone. And when I'm out in the garage, I want to be able to use my voice control that's sitting, on the counter in there. And I want to be able to, use automatic when I'm driving around. So I believe, and I think many people share this opinion, that the solution is going to be to provide all of these different types of access to our customers. you need to have voice control. You need to have an in-home touchscreen that looks beautiful on the wall, and ideally multiple ones so they can access it wherever they are. Then you need to have voice control units and integration with the popular ones they already own, so that as you're walking around the house, that you can use those commands and do the things you want to do with that. You got to have your watch apps, and you got to have your, automatic things that just, some of the things should just happen automatically. If there is a flood in the home and the water detector under the sink detects it, you should only get an alert that triggers you to say, okay, turn off water. That kind of thing should happen automatically. When you're getting up in the middle of the night because you really need that extra bowl of cereal and it's 2 a.m., maybe automatically the pantry light should turn on for you, lighting your way as you go in. Okay, so you don't have to fumble for a switch in the dark. There's certain things that will need to be automatic, certain things that will need to be controlled, certain things that need to be, and the key is devices. The key is lots of different devices to go all throughout the home and provide the kind of impact and data that the customer needs, and let them configure it how you want. And therein lies, I think, probably one of the biggest keys, and that's the professional installer. More and more, we're seeing a trend where people are moving away from the DIY install to the professional installer. And let's be honest, if you wanted brand new wood floors in your home right now, you might be able to watch the DIY channel and learn how to do it. But the question is, are you willing to do that? If you are, it's probably because you're looking to save a buck, not because you think you'll do a better job. Now, maybe you think you can, but if so, you're an anomaly. Most people will say, if it came down to it, I would rather trust a professional, especially if the cost wasn't unreasonable. And that's where we need to help lean on these professional systems engineers, these integrators who can go through and say, I can help build out everything you need. I can give you exactly what you want. I can consult with you and find out what you want today. And I will continue to consult with you tomorrow and the next day to help you figure out what you want. And I'll be your guy. Just like everyone's got, I've got the one guy that does my sprinklers. I've got the one guy that handles my yard. I got the guy that handles my auto repair. And your friends will ask, hey, do you have a guy who can do your fill in the blank? I don't think we're too far away from a time when people say, hey, do you have someone who can do your smart home for you? And you're going to say, yes, I do. And he's awesome. He takes care of me. He has all the best devices. He'll make sure everything works together and it all works exactly the way I want.
Well, it's interesting. I was going to ask, and I think that this actually relates to the install professional piece as well. Creating routines and home automation scenes right now is still a very manual process. I'd love to understand if you think that there's a way to create routines that work for people without them having to figure out the math and the equation to make that work. And also, is the pro install channel, you're a smart home guy, right? Is there a role for him to play that, right? At setup, you're doing some training of the end user and talking through some 5, 10, 15 initial use cases and setting up those scenes from the beginning, right? And then maybe there's a comeback every 6 months or something with, hey, learn this something new. Because we know from our own research that if you look at something somewhat, correlated like Alexa skills, how many people ever add skills later? I mean, it's pretty low, even though there's tens of thousands of skills out there, So, what do you think about how to make that process easier and whether there's a role for the
Yeah, I mean, and we're actually seeing that already. So we've worked very hard on our flagship products to make the installation process literally very, very short. In fact, I've seen, installations, a full system installation that literally takes 30 minutes. The panel itself gets up on the wall, within 5 to 10 minutes. You're putting up stickers, adhesive tape, sensors with, door sensors, window sensors, motion sensors, etc., all throughout the home. Door locks. I mean, I installed a door lock for a friend of mine the other day, and it literally took us 10 minutes. I mean, some of these installations, because of how brilliant the engineers are becoming in making it so intuitive and so easy to do the install, the installation portion of that becomes really, really small. And we're seeing more and more, the installers are telling us that I spend most of my time configuring. Now, sometimes it's them configuring rules and things, on the smart app, making sure everything's set up the way they want. Sometimes it's customer training, and sometimes it's a combination of both. And asking all the right questions. Who's in your home? How many people do you have coming and going? Who all needs a user code? Because it's not just the old, your grandma's got one user code for the security system, and that's the only code that's ever used. Now everyone has their own code because everyone has their own device, and the devices are integrated in, and you're capturing photos and video clips of different people as they come and go, and being aware of the people as they come and go. And if one of those devices or codes gets compromised, it's easy to eliminate one and not have to change them all. So that user experience, having someone to say, hey, how many users do you have? What are they doing? What kind of roles will these users play? What kind of access should we be providing to these users? What kind of things do you want to do? What kind of things do you want to know about in your home? What kind of things are you worried about? What kind of problems should we help you to solve? Maybe you are worried about your kids sneaking out at night, in which case you're talking about smart rules, geofences, sensors on doors and windows that can alert you to that kind of thing, and being aware when they come home and getting notifications when they come home. Maybe you're worried about leaving the kids at home when you're driving away and you want to have cameras installed throughout the home so you can kind of check on things. And while you're out on a date with your spouse or significant other, you could be checking on things from your mobile app and seeing that the babysitter's taking good care of things and seeing that the kids are happy. Maybe you want just to make sure your home is energy efficient. And when you drive away, you want to make sure that automatically, I don't have to touch anything other than saying I'm leaving, and automatically your lights are turning off, your fireplace is turning off, your thermostat's turning down, your doors are locked, all those things are happening for you automatically. So you don't have to worry about your home being more energy efficient because it does it automatically. So, part of this is that ongoing conversation that the professional needs to have with the homeowner and help them not only understand and identify the various aspects of the system that are right for them, but what rules, what notifications, what extra devices you can bring in both now and in the future that will help them accomplish their own personal goals, and meeting with them, like you said, whether it's every 6 months or every 12 months, however often that needs to be, to reassess those needs. How are the things I've already installed for you going? Do you like them? Are there any rules that are broken or things that are not working right? Now, let me show you what is next for you. We're going to make a personal plan for you to decide what devices you're going to get next. And we're going to look at the long term, be aware that these other things are out there too. So don't go and buy that one-off device that won't integrate when you're ready for smart lighting, for example. I've got a full set of choices for you. Come talk to me first and I'll coach you through what to get, how to get, and in many cases, I'll even do it for you.
So I have one quick follow-up there, and then we have a couple questions that I'm going to get to from the audience. So just following up on the channel there. So whether we think about security dealers, right, or HVAC dealers, which are sort of another channel into the home, where do you see their level of familiarity, their enthusiasm with smart home tech, right? Where is the average dealer at right now in understanding what's possible and how their business maybe could be different and they could serve their own customers differently?
Well, our dealers have been amazing. I can't tell you how awesome it's been to get feedback from them, and they're very eager for that next device integration. They're very eager for that next rule or that next automation, and it's really cool to have them participate on our weekly webinars, on our social media pages, and they're very, very active. They're all very eager and wanting to do all of these things we've just talked about. Many of them are becoming experts in almost every aspect of the system, and whether you're going in and saying, hey, look, this is a cute little old lady and she needs a wellness enabled system with bed sensors and chair sensors and things like this, or this is a big commercial building and we need to do smart HVAC, all of those. It's really cool to see how eager they are to share this content. And again, therein lies some of the challenge. And they come to us all the time as a marketing team. How can you help me show off these items without making the customer feel overwhelmed? I don't want them to feel overwhelmed. And so part of that is that coaching of how do we create a plan. The HVAC customers are the same way. And that's actually one of the things we've worked very hard on, is to try and decrease the barrier to entry for some of these products. The easier we can make that installation, on-screen wizards that guide you exactly through the tutorials, remote connectivity that makes it easy to go in and make an adjustment to a system, and devices that are simple to install. I mean, our water valve is a great example of this. It used to be, if you wanted to install a smart water valve, you had to have a professional plumber contracted outside of your job to come in and do it. And the installation would cost just as much, if not more, than the device itself. And so it became so cost prohibitive that no one was ever doing it. Well, now we've designed smart water valves that literally attach right onto the pipe. No plumber required. You literally put it on, tighten down the clamps, pair it using a Z-Wave radio. As long as it's got power, it's going to work fantastic. And we're seeing a huge amount of people saying, well, now I'm really going to get into the water conservation and water management side of the business because you've made it so easy. HVAC technicians are the same way. They're looking at saying, hey, look, we have opportunities for security, for life safety, for automation, but we don't have time. We don't have the bandwidth to learn all of years and years worth of technology to try and figure it out. So we try and make it as simple as possible and say, plug this in, follow the on-screen prompts, and then do these other things. We create easy tutorial videos that take a minute or two to watch that allow you to watch that and understand what to do. So the simpler we can make it for the installer, the easier that becomes for them to not only implement a large variety of things, but also to even delve into DIY. And we've seen many dealers who say, hey, look, I'm going to come out and do the professional install for you in person. But then as you add devices down the road, I'll configure it for you at my home base, and we're going to mail it to you, and you'll install it yourself. Mm-hmm. And with a simple video piece of video content, or even just an intuitive experience, many of these homeowners are now adding those devices to their homes themselves with the assistance of the professional installer and the professional organization. So it's a really great melding between all of them.
Yeah, that's really interesting to see how the DIY space is now looping back into the professionals.
And one comment on that, I've always believed that DIY is not a business method. It is instead an installation option. And you can choose to have a DIY or you can choose to have professionally installed. That is something that really becomes up to the consumer. You ask your customer, do you want it professionally installed or do you want to do it yourself? Because my product's worth both ways, and you decide what level of touch is right for you.
Yeah. Well, let me take a question from the audience here. What do you tell people who want to get started with Smarthome, but are afraid of wasting time and money since tech is quickly changing?
Great question. So the first thing I would say is find a solution that is broad enough to meet all your needs, both now and the future. Get that base system in first. That's one of the things we specialize in, is helping people get that first system. And we've got lots of people who will say, well, I'll take D.R. Horton as an example. One of the largest home builders, if not the largest home builder in the United States. Every single D.R. Horton home comes with a smart panel, a smart panel, as well as a video doorbell, a smart thermostat, and a door lock, and a smart light on the front porch. That's just a base automation system. They can control it locally from their phone, from the panel, or they get a free mobile app for the first 3 years where they can interact with that system. Almost all of those are looking at it and saying, well, what else can this do? This is really cool. And 60% of those are saying, I want to upgrade to something. Many of them are choosing security. Some are choosing life safety. Some are choosing more cameras or things like that. But 60 to 70% of these homes are saying, I want more because I've already been given this base system. So that's my encouragement to you, is find a solution that works for your base system, that you don't have to say, oh, you wanted to do energy management? I got to rip that out and put in this other one instead. Mm-hmm. And the technology that we're developing today is flexible enough through software to be able to make it so that you can do any of those things without having to change out that base system. You can put the one system in, and whether you're doing solar integration, wellness, commercial, residential, builder, any of these verticals, any of these different aspects of things can all be used together in a single system. You're simply just changing settings within the software to enable features that are basically latent in there until you need them.
Smart. So here's a next question from the audience. How do you make it easy for your partners to integrate into your unified platform and deliver an intuitive customer experience, considering platform security, mobile apps, quality, and reliability? A lot of factors there.
Well, it takes a village. It's not just us. We've got Qualcomm, we've got Foxconn, we've got Alarm.com. We've got so many different partners like Yale and Kwikset. We've got partners, in the camera space. We've got partners in, the energy management space, Solar Edge, things like that. So as we look at all Control4, if you look at all the different partnerships we make, again, the key is if we can be the hinge that allows all of these things to fit together, then we win. We want to be able to make it easy for each of these individuals to bring in. So we purposely put 6 different wireless protocols in our platform. And that way, when you say, hey, look, I've got a device, it's really awesome, and it uses Bluetooth, we can say, great, we got Bluetooth. Let's talk about how we might integrate that. Hey, I've got a device that uses Wi-Fi. Great, we've got Wi-Fi. Let's talk about how that might integrate. Oh, I've got a device that is a camera. Okay, great. Let's talk about how we'll integrate that with those things. So device manufacturers, should be using some of those universal protocols and coordinating with other device manufacturers to make sure they all fit together. And that interoperability, when it's done right, hopefully delivers all of those devices in the background, but we deliver one single user experience to the end user. And that's where, our partner Alarm.com has been so instrumental, in the mobile app that they bring all of these devices, as we bring them into the panel and have all those, whether it's a Bluetooth, Z-Wave, security RF, a legacy security radio, a legacy security device, it's been installed for 10 years, whatever the device is, we bring all those in, we provide that to alarm.com, and then through a single app, you can now control all of it in one place, just like you can control it locally on the panel.
So we have just a few minutes. I'd love to ask you to take a bit of a forward-looking question. So since Johnson Controls also has a footprint in commercial, right? I've seen a lot of the really innovative stuff you're working with in smart buildings related to smart access control, healthy buildings and air quality, right? Robotics in some cases, mail screenings, which might talk a little bit to, the package delivery use case. Can you give us any insight into what sort of innovations then and technologies that you're working with on the commercial side that might find its way into residential?
Well, we actually had some major announcements at our customer-only event just back in September. And one of the things we told our customers is that we're going to do the same thing to the commercial space that we did in the residential space. I think we've worked very, very, very hard to revolutionize the way that the security industry and the consumer themselves approaches, smart home, and bringing all of these things in. And now it's funny because when we talk about being a security company, I shudder a little bit because we don't just do security. So much of what we do is smart home and other technologies brought in. But we are endeavoring right now with some new products and some innovations over the course of the next year or two. You will see some really, really amazing things coming out of Johnson Controls, bringing all of those things you just referenced together under one umbrella for the commercial building space. We're doing some of that now. Some of that's already in play. Others are coming in. And one of the things we really pride ourselves on is feedback. If our customers come to us and say, I really want to be able to do this, but that's just never been possible historically, well, we work to make it a reality. We love to take the ideas and feedback from our customers and turn them into something that they can actually use and do through the magic of both hardware and software.
Well, Jeremy, thank you so much for your time and for your insights today. We really appreciate you being with us and also Johnson Controls for sponsoring the session today. So appreciate it.
Thank you very much. It's been a lot of fun. I hope all of you have a great time. And remember, go talk to your customers. That's the best way to be successful.
Absolutely. Great business recommendation as always. So that's fantastic. Next up, pleased to welcome Parks Associates President Elizabeth Parks, who will be having an executive Q&A chat with Ayla Networks. We'll be right back.